Every week, college football games hinge on a single word.
Touchdown. Touchdown, Texas. Touchdown, Oklahoma. Touchdown. Touchdown. Touchdown, Wisconsin. Touchdown. 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 Touchdown, Stanford. Touchdown. Touchdown, Alabama. Touchdown, Notre Dame. Touchdown. Wow.
This is Touchdown Radio. Here's Gino Torretta and Taylor Zarzour.
So glad to be back with you on Touchdown Radio Tailgate as we get into Week 8 of the college football season. Here we are in the latter part of October, if you can already believe that, Mr. Torretta.
It's, we wait all summer, all spring, and it's like, God, it takes forever. And then it's like in the blink of an eye, you're like, oh, my God, the season's almost over. Who's in the Final Four? Who's going to be in the playoff? It seems like we wait too long for a short season, but I am not advocating a 17 or 18 game season like the NFL or anything like that. I'm just saying it seems like we wait an awful long time to enjoy, and obviously last weekend did not disappoint. It's every weekend college football. It's the best reality TV there is, and it delivered across the board from noon to 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, whatever the SC Utah game finished.
It did. I mean, that KU Oklahoma game was great to start out. Michigan looked terrific against Penn State. The 3:30 window, I'm a little disappointed that there were other games going on during the massive Alabama-Tennessee game, because I don't think anybody saw what TCU and Oklahoma State did, and it was one of the best games of the year in college football.
How about the game we did? Michigan, I thought Michigan State, I thought Wisconsin was going to, go into East Lansing and take care of business. And, it was kind of like just that Big Ten slobber knocker. It was like 14-7. It's like, oh my goodness, this game is just the only thing that was slowing the game down was Fox TV timeouts for Brando and Tillman. So, but then, you get a couple scores that go in OT, then a wide receiver touchdown pass. I mean, it was just it was a great finish. But like you said, it was that game in Knoxville obviously had title implications.
And it had it had the largest audience by over 1 million people so far this season in college football. And, I think that Brad Nessler at the end of the broadcast, tried to express what you, me, and all college football fans are feeling, which is if you watch this and you don't love college football, there's something I don't know what to say to you. I can't remember what he said at the end. There's something terribly wrong with you. There is. They're really, I mean, and you've experienced this. You played in the National Football League for years. You played at the highest level of college football, winning national championships, winning Heisman Trophy. You love high school football, but you're not just a football fan. You love every sport. And you and I have gone to a lot of different sporting events together. And it's whether it's basketball or it's baseball or it's golf or it's something else. College football has something, Gino, that no other sport has when it comes to pageantry.
No, there's no question. I think because you have the years and years of a fan base, a la your alumni and also your local fan base. And you look at Knoxville, for example. I mean, you're right on the river. It's just, you got the people boating in, you got the massive student body that's there. And it's just like years and years. And then through those years, you have memories like when you were a kid and you went to an Alabama game or an Auburn game. I have memories of being one of the few fans at maybe a Cal or Stanford game. And it's just, it's so awesome. And the game never disappoints. And people are like, well, what do you think about betting this game? You know what I mean? I'm like, listen, I'll give you my opinion who I think is going to win. But last week's game, Michigan State and Wisconsin is the reason I do not bet. I mean, like I would have, if somebody said, gun your head, you got to put money on this game, I would say Wisconsin and the under. And it was Michigan State outright and the over. and it's just like, and that's why it's just like, casinos weren't built on winners. So I just, but because of that, and even last week, you picked Tennessee. And I was literally trying, we started at 4. So I'm trying to watch that, keep abreast of what's going on. And I see Alabama's got the ball with like 30 seconds left. And I'm like, oh, wow, they're going to have a field goal to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then next thing I know, Andrew Gibson jumps in from the studio and goes, Tennessee guy just kicked a knuckleball that went over the uprights and Tennessee won. I was just like, how did they get the ball back? There was like 20 seconds left. So, that it just, from the prayer and Jordan Hare that you and I did, I think that to me was probably the most exciting finish of a game that I've ever been, because, you didn't think they had a chance.
Gino, you've seen Alabama and you've seen Tennessee. You saw Tennessee play Florida a few weeks before that. What was your take-home message from the Alabama-Tennessee game? You said at the beginning of this broadcast that game had national championship implications. What do you take away from that Tennessee victory over Alabama?
Well, I think I take away that their offense can play with anybody. It doesn't matter if it's going to be Georgia lining up against them, Alabama lining up against them, their offense, and Josh Heupel's got them rolling. Hendon Hooker is experienced. He's in his 6-year, 24-year-old kid, and he's got some weapons on the outside, and they're not even 100% healthy. So I think because of that, they have a chance in every game. The concerning, and I said this, last week when did the show, the concerning is defense. I mean, defense was optional in that game. But you look at teams that win a national championship, you got to average, giving up 2 touchdowns a game by the end of the season. And that's the concerning thing, because you're never putting the other team away. Like when they played against Florida, they had them dead to rights, and it was like their defense, and they kind of let them back in at the end, and Florida had a shot to tie it or to win the game. So, but with that Tennessee's offense, they can play with anybody. And if you don't have your best game, as I think you'd probably say Alabama did. I also would say it shows the value of Knoxville home field advantage. And it is truly one of the best home field environments in college football.
There's no question that it is. And it was great to see that their fans were able to experience that again. And they looked like they had never won a big game before. And I don't say that critically. They hadn't. I mean, they had not been in a national championship type stage in 20 years. And they have gone through so much pain. So when people are saying, wow, they're going crazy and they're acting like they haven't been there, they hadn't. They should have celebrated like that, because it had been so long and they've experienced so much pain. I totally support how crazy that they went.
I love how they're trying to get a few extra dollars to support replacing the goalpost. You know what the best part about that is? All I could think of, because after the game, you see these articles on, hey, this coach Mel Tucker signed a $100 million deal, and then USA Today, I think that day was the most underpaid college coaches. It was either that day or the day before. And Josh Heupel was one of them.
He's about to be
paltry $5 million a year. And I'm like, well, they're saving $5 million a year. They could just take that and replace the uprights.
Okay, a couple of things. Danny White, their athletic director, he should be in wrestling. Like he's just trying to get the athletic department more money. He doesn't need new goalposts. In fact, they had new goalposts in the stadium that were ready to be planted in case somebody took the goalpost away. They've been waiting for that moment for a long time. So first of all, let me just say that. But you're right. That atmosphere is incredible. It was electric. And I can't think of any other sports team in world history that brings about the kind of reaction that Alabama Nick Saban does when somebody beats them. Because it doesn't happen very often, but that is the ultimate compliment to him, is that they're really, I can't think of any other coach at any other level of sport that gets this kind of reaction when you beat him. I mean, that just shows you just how incredible of a program he's built. I got to tell you, people after the game are saying, oh, well, that's all right. They lost a game. They lose a game just about every year and they still get to the national championship. Gino, they're going to need a fundamental shift on defense. And they're going to have to get more pressure, and they're going to have to play smarter football on the road if they have any prayer of getting to the college football playoff. I don't see this team, as is currently constructed, getting to the college football playoff this year.
Well, and Bryce Young is a magician, but he's got to be healthy. And that's the thing. It's like they relied on his magic a season ago at the end of the year to pull them out against Auburn and against the SEC, championship game against Georgia. I look at it, and the reason that is like you said, it's the longevity. I mean, like, it's unheard of, like what Nick Saban is doing. And I would go back to, when Miami had their run, and I can remember, I think Washington came into the Orange Bowl and ended our streak at 58 home wins, and their fans are chanting "overrated," and I'm like, you just beat the second-ranked team. Like, okay, that's a backhanded compliment to your own club. But it happens with longevity. Florida State for 14 years, where Bowden was in the top 3. People just like, okay, I'm kind of tired of it. I want to see somebody take down the champ, whether it's, boxing or whatever. You want to see somebody take down the champ. And obviously Nick Saban and Alabama have set the bar so high for so many years. Yeah, it's going to bring that emotion. I mean,
it is.
For God's sake. I mean, listen, I didn't realize, we didn't play a lot of SEC teams when I was playing. And so I didn't realize the vitriol of the rivalries of Ole Miss LSU, of Alabama Tennessee, and Alabama Auburn, and all that stuff. And then you go on the road. I mean, years ago, I remember doing that game and going into a college bar, and I was just like, oh my Lord, like, everybody is against Alabama in this town. And it was just, it was so awesome to feel that, like, everybody was behind the home thing. But you want to take down the champ, and that's what they did.
That's what they did. And you mentioned Bryce Young. Hendon Hooker's amazing, and he deserves to be in our minds as Heisman voters. So does Stroud. There are a bunch of others that should be in our mind. I got to tell you, I mean, look, we don't need to vote right now, so it's okay for me to say this. Nobody's more impressive than Bryce Young. And what he did last Saturday, I don't think his cast is nearly as good as it's been the last couple of years. And what he did last Saturday to put his team in position to have a chance to win was simply remarkable. But you're right. He's going to have to stand on his head and play Houdini if they're going to get back to the college football playoff. That is barring less penalties or a shift in philosophy on defense. All right, so we've talked about that game. We've talked about how great college football is. And since you said at the beginning of the program that here we are, it's the middle of October, and now we need to start thinking about what's going to happen at the end of the season, I'm going to put you on the spot in the next segment, because my mind has started to shift towards, all right, is Georgia going to go undefeated? Is Ohio State going to go undefeated? Is Tennessee, are they going to lose one game to Georgia and Athens? Does that mean they still get to the playoff? If Michigan only loses to Ohio State in Columbus, are they still,
or vice versa?
Right. Are they still in line to maybe have a chance? Is Clemson going undefeated? What about the Big 12? Does anybody out west have a chance? I want to get to all that coming up next and see where your head's at as it relates to the end of the season. So glad you're with us here. At the bottom of the hour, I would put them number 25 in the country right now. My South Alabama Jaguars, who have only one loss at 5-1, play the Troy Trojans in the biggest game in Alabama. Okay, maybe it's not the biggest, but it's a big game down in Alabama. Troy at South Alabama.
Come on now, Troy's always got some talent. You know that.
They do. They're a good team this year. That's at the bottom of the hour. And Virginia is playing a much improved Georgia Tech team at the bottom of the hour as well. A couple games tomorrow night before the slate is great on Saturday. With Gino Torretta, I'm Taylor Zarzour. You're listening to Touchdown Radio Tailgate on ESPNU Radio, Sirius XM, Channel 84.
Original Penguin is the game day gear for Touchdown Radio Tailgate. Go to originalpenguin.com and put in TD Radio 22 and get your 20% discount. Yeah, you can get your extra layers as it's fall. Although I'm going to Columbus this weekend and it's 75, so we are cheering that. No extra layers. Go to originalpenguin.com, TD Radio 22, and get your 20% discount.
That big penguin jacket you sent me, Touchdown Radio penguin jacket, came in handy when it was
vests are always good,
degrees.
Especially in golf. You cold weather golfers. I'm a fair weather golfer. I don't golf in cold weather.
Yeah, it was freezing on Wednesday morning in Charlotte, North Carolina, so it came in handy. Gino, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Are the Georgia Bulldogs going undefeated?
I'm going to say no, because I want total chaos. I think we've almost had it multiple times in college football, but I think that I would like to see somebody beat them. And I think, listen,
who's beating them? Who's going to beat them?
I think Florida's offense is good enough to beat anybody, and Tennessee's offense is going to be good enough to beat anybody.
So you have Georgia with one loss. Are they going to the SEC championship game?
Where's the Tennessee game?
It's in Athens.
Oh, you're killing me. I'm going to say no. I like Tennessee. I think Tennessee's going to go to the championship game.
So Georgia's out.
Georgia's out of the SEC championship game.
And they have one loss.
Okay.
Is that right?
Doesn't mean they're out of the top 4. Just they're out of the SEC championship game.
Tennessee, are they going undefeated?
Yes.
Undefeated. Vols, Rocky Top. Do you hear that? Gino Torretta has you at 12-0 going to the SEC championship game. Is Alabama going to run the table now? Now they have to play at LSU. They got Mississippi State this weekend. They got at LSU, at Ole Miss, which is, that's basically Tennessee, right? They run the ball a lot more than Tennessee does, but Lane Kiffin's running 3,000 plays per game, no defense. It's the game's in Oxford. Alabama's terrible on the road. Are you saying Alabama runs the table?
Yes.
Okay, so we got Bama-Tennessee rematch?
Bama-Tennessee rematch.
Who wins?
Yes. Without home field advantage, just to add chaos, I think Bama will win.
Okay, Bama. Oh, man.
I hate prognosticating because I'm terrible picking games.
So Bama's 12-1.
How about Bama, Tennessee, and Georgia will have one loss. Now who's in the playoff?
Right, so UGA is 11-1. Tennessee is 12, but UGA lost at home to Tennessee. Yeah, they're going to be out if that's the case. So you got Tennessee and Bama both 12-1. All right, now let's get to Ohio State and Michigan. Will Ohio State and Michigan be both 11-0 when they play each other in Columbus?
Yes.
And who's winning?
Ohio State.
Okay, so you got Ohio State, and then Ohio State's going to win the championship game, correct? Against the lowly West this year. Okay, so Ohio State is 13-0. You got a Michigan at 11-1, only loss on the road at the Buckeyes. Okay, Clemson Tigers, are they going undefeated?
Yes.
And will beat North Carolina or whoever they play here in Charlotte in the
the Coastal. Does anybody want to win the Coastal any point at a time in any season? It seems like nobody wants to win that division.
Right. So you got Clemson at
undefeated
at 13-0. I guess I should mention is that Ole Miss game. They're going to lose at home to Alabama. Do you think they'll lose to somebody else along the way as well?
Who's that? Ole Miss?
Yeah.
No. I think they'll lose to Alabama at home, and I think that's it.
That's okay. Good grief!
I don't even know. You know what? You're putting me on the spot, Johnny.
I'm trying.
I would just say that's who I would pick right now.
Okay. All right. Now TCU is undefeated. They're 6-0. Oklahoma State's got one loss. I see Texas with Ewers back at quarterback. They've got 2 losses. K-State 1 loss. Is the Big 12? Is TCU going undefeated first of all? And if not, is their champion only going to have 1 loss?
TCU needs to go undefeated for the Big 12 to have a chance. Who do they got left on their schedule? They got a big one this week against K-State. They got Texas. Wow.
You're saying no.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say because Texas is kind of like that volatile compound where you're like, okay, you're on board with them, and then they don't play outstanding, but they're good enough to beat anybody when they play outstanding. So I'm going to say no.
I agree with you. Now, and out west, do you also believe that the Pac-12 needs to have an undefeated team in order to get to the playoff? And that would be UCLA, obviously. That's the only ones that are left. Do you think the Bruins are going undefeated?
Can I answer that on Monday? Because the Bruins have not had really a road game against a good squad. So this is a road game against a good squad at Oregon. And it's the toughest place to play in the Pac-12. And until the gutty little Bruins go over that hump.
Sounds like you don't think they're going to win in Eugene.
Well, you got that hurdle, and then you got SC game, later in November. So I'm gonna say the Pac-12 and UCLA are out.
So it sounds like to me you have undefeated Ohio State, undefeated Clemson, 1 loss Tennessee, and 1 loss Alabama in the college football
Georgia.
No, you can't have 5 teams. You only have 4.
Well, I didn't say you didn't ask me who the 4 would be. I'm just telling you that's going to produce the chaos of, okay, who's the one loss team out of the SEC that's going to go.
If Alabama wins the SEC championship and beats Tennessee in a revenge game, they'll be in, and you're not going to.
What if Tennessee Georgia is a close matchup?
Tennessee
Taylor,
wins in Athens.
I mean, come on, you know as well as I do that group of 16. Like when they come up with the Final Four, you're like, there's some head scratching moments.
If Tennessee wins in Athens, I don't care how they do it. If they win in Athens, they get preferential treatment over the Dogs. So you'd have Ohio State and Clemson most likely as the 1 and 2 seeds, and you'd have Alabama and Tennessee as the 3 and 4.
And don't hold me to any of this, folks, because I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Trust me, I'm not. But my point in bringing all this up was I think we're going to have a chance at more chaos than we've ever had before in a 4-team playoff.
And the powers that be will have wished they expanded for this year, because you're probably going to have 6 to 7 teams that legitimately can beat each other.
I thought I'm not sure SC will lose again. That game was incredible. We hadn't even talked about that.
Well, you got Addison got rolled up. Listen, he's a big part. I mean, he's just an awesome player. Big fan of his. So he's banged up. And that's what happens. You get, look at Alabama. Bryce Young is not 100% healthy. What's going to happen if key players? What if Hooker gets dinged up a little bit? That's right. These are the kinds of things like middle of October and on. You're trying to stay healthy, and if you don't, that's it. It's a tough road to hoe.
Let me just say this. I don't know how it's going to shake out either, and I'm not holding you to these picks. The point I was trying to make is that I do think that we have a lot of options for teams that could get to the college football playoff. I would say this today. I disagree with you about Georgia and Tennessee. I think Tennessee, what Josh Heupel has done to put his team in this position is sensational. And they have, in my opinion, the best offense in college football. Their defense is nowhere close to ready to compete to win an SEC championship or a national championship by my judgment. I think that they need to make significant strides, clearly, as does Alabama, by the way, if they want to try to win a national championship. The 2 most complete teams to me in all of college football are Georgia and Ohio State. I think that Michigan and Clemson are really close, by the way. I've been very impressed by those 2 teams. I didn't think they'd be in this conversation. They are so far. But I think Georgia's defense is far greater than every other SEC contender's defense. And I think Ohio State's entire team, that Ohio State-Michigan game, as great as Alabama-Tennessee was, and I don't know how we are going to get anything that rivals that in terms of drama and reaction. I think the level of talent on each side of the football and how balanced Ohio State and Michigan are may provide for the ultimately what becomes the best matchup in the regular season. But the point I'm trying to make about all this is we have 3 or 4 teams that look like they might be a cut above the rest right now, but we have 5 or 6 that are right behind them that still might have something to say about the college football playoff, which means end of November is going to be chaotic.
Here's the one thing that concerns me, and I get it where you say, hey, the defense for Tennessee is not, where they need to be. Here is my evaluation. I'm going to Ohio State and Iowa this weekend. Okay. Iowa has the
great defense.
The fifth ranked in their conference, yet they're 7th in the NC2A. So is that a function of great defense or a function of Big Ten offenses? And look at who Iowa has played. I mean, to me, it's you have to evaluate, and I know it would only be a 60-minute one-game evaluation, but to me, the Big Ten defenses should be, how do you play against Ohio State and how did you play against Michigan? Because those are the only 2 teams in the Big Ten that can hang nationally offensively with anybody in the country. So totally that's where I'm like, what I mean? We're sitting here and we're like, okay, yeah, it should be a great game, but I Stroud is sick. I mean, he had 6 touchdowns last week against Michigan State. The kid's got 80 some touchdowns and like 17 starts. I mean, it's like his numbers are better than mine in 50 starts, and he's played a season and a half. And so my it's like that's my trepidation of the Big Ten is I think it's more a function of poor offenses than absolutely stifling defenses.
I don't disagree with you, but I do think, as you also said, Ohio State and Michigan belong in their own conversation.
Yes.
And I do think that you can look at the eye test and see those teams and say they would stack up in the SEC.
All around, clearly the creme de la crop of the Big Ten. No question.
This is going to be fun. I am a little bummed we don't have a group of 5 team that is going to be part of this conversation like we did last year with Cincinnati. Cincinnati, by the way, is ranked 21st. For the life of me, I don't know why UCF isn't ranked. They've been terrific so far this season. They're 5-1. They could still have a chance to get to the New Year's Six this year. Those are some teams in the American Conference that you might want to watch out for to see maybe if they could get to the New Year's Six by the end of the season. But it's fun to talk about the college football playoff and what may come with that. Let's get you to the Week 8 matchups coming up next. We don't have as much dangling from the vine as we typically do, but the games we do have should be very interesting. We'll discuss those coming up next as you listen to Touchdown Radio Tailgate on ESPNU Radio, Sirius XM, Channel 84.
Original Penguin is an official Touchdown Radio Tailgate gear. Go to originalpenguin.com and put in TD Radio 22 to get your 20% discount. That's originalpenguin.com, TD Radio 22 for your 20% discount.
Gino, I want to talk about some games outside the top 25 before we get into the big matchups. We have 7 or 8 this week that are really worth discussing in the top 25. But outside the top 25, let's go to the Big 12. 5-2 Kansas is playing at Baylor. Kansas has a chance. Well, they've had a chance the last couple of weeks, and they have another chance this week to become bowl eligible. I'm afraid they might have a chance to become bowl eligible for the next month. I'm a little worried as I look at the rest of the schedule, and I don't know where that 6th win is coming. It's been a huge step in the right direction.
Pump the brakes.
Yeah, we might be heading down to
the great story with game day.
Yeah,
Pump the brakes.
In the Big Ten, Maryland has a chance to become bowl eligible. Boy, I mean the Tagovailoa family has had to go through so much the last week. Talia, that looked incredibly scary, the injury that he had. Tua, of course, we know what's been going on with him in the National Football League. He's coming back on Sunday night to play for the Miami Dolphins against the Steelers, but that's been scary. But the Terps, I have to say, I got to give their program credit. They have a chance to become bowl eligible this weekend. Purdue has a chance to become bowl eligible at Wisconsin as well. And I know that Maryland and Purdue don't want to just end up with 6 wins, but still some good programs that are both 5-2 on the year that probably aren't getting a lot of a national attention right now.
Yeah, Wisconsin's reeling. I mean, I think that they're kind of looking like, Graham Mertz has started consecutively for 3 years now, and just can't. I mean, he makes some plays where they're eye popping, and other ones where it's just kind of pedestrian and not very accurate throwing the ball. And I don't know if that's a reflection of play calling. And I think they're just defense. They can't hold up when their offense isn't producing. And then you got, Jeff Brom. I played with him in the 49ers. I mean, offensively, give him weapons, and I think he can scheme up against anybody offensively. And I think that's why Purdue is dangerous.
Out west in the Pac-12, congrats to Colorado. They won their first game of the year last week in overtime, I might add, against the Cal Bears. Maybe some reality this week as they're in Corvallis. Oregon State, if the Beavs win, they're bowl eligible. Same thing for the Washington Huskies. UW plays at Cal this weekend in that beautiful backdrop in Berkeley. So both of those teams can get to 6 wins on the season. And Stanford, I got to tell you, man, I can't believe that Notre Dame game last week where 1-4 Stanford goes into South Bend and beats the Irish. Whew. This has been a transition season for Coach Freeman.
Well, no question. And having seen Stanford up close against USC, it was just they had Tanner McKee, a very solid quarterback, but not a lot of weapons. Their best running back transferred to USC from a season ago. Emmitt Smith's son, their starter ends up getting hurt. So Stanford is just kind of a bunch of Band-Aids, and then they can't use the transfer portal really, or haven't used the transfer portal. And, it's just the cupboard's bare there for Coach Shaw, but to go on the road and beat Notre Dame, I mean, I was completely shocked by that one.
Yeah, I was too. And Notre Dame is playing UNLV on the internet this week on Peacock.
Peacock?
Yeah, I know they have a huge audience.
More viewers than the Bally's for the University of Miami games the last few weeks?
Yes. But I mean, this is Notre Dame, who always gets a huge audience. So yes,
the Miami Twitter was ablaze. Was like, how do I find this game? This game was nowhere to be found.
But I do wonder what their audience is like compared to what it typically is on NBC. And then the group of 5, Toledo has a chance to get to bowl eligibility. They're playing at Buffalo this weekend. This is a joke that James Madison can't play in a bowl game this year. I know they lost last week to Georgia Southern. They fell out of the top 25. But if they beat Marshall, they're 6-1. Put them in a bowl game. This is ridiculous. Who cares if they
especially when we changed all these rules with COVID, when teams canceled at last minute, and you're like, hey, we need a game. Can you play? And then teams filled in last minute. Yeah, I would agree with you.
I don't like talking about who might be the new head coach at another school while the current school still has their coach. But it looks like Hugh Freeze is going to have a chance to leave Liberty and coach maybe in the Southeastern Conference next year. Liberty is 6-1. They're already bowl eligible. They play BYU this weekend. UTSA has a chance to get to 6-2 on the season. They play North Texas. And Air Force also has a chance for its 6th win against Boise State. So I feel like we need to do a better job of, not just us, just all of college football, of saluting the other teams, not just the teams that are in the top 25, G.
Well, and a lot of that comes with eyeballs. You know that. It's like if the game's on in a time slot, I mean, heck, the SC Utah game, phenomenal game, but it's over late at night, and people are, hey, it's Saturday night, I'm going out after the 3:30 game and miss all the excitement. So and I think that some of the West Coast teams and some of the smaller market teams, the sad thing is it's just there's not a time slot or a TV slot to where we can all watch the great play.
Yeah, that is a good point. And it's I wish that weren't the case. And again, tonight, South Alabama has the game just underway, has a chance to get to 6-1. They're hosting 5-2 Troy, who's gotten off to a really good start this year with a transition with its coaching staff too. So that's going on tonight. And that is and then UCF is playing on Saturday. They're at East Carolina. I think one of the toughest places in all of college football to play in. And Gus Malzahn's team, Gino, is still in the mix as it relates to the New Year's Six. If they win the American Conference, they have a real chance to get to the New Year's Six. You would sort of show favoritism to that conference getting that New Year's Six berth.
Yeah, I would agree. And then obviously with Cincinnati, I mean, we're discounted. They have a loss already, but why can't they run the table? Those are the kinds of things that's the best part about this is we've seen college football every week deliver. Whether it's the top 10, matchups or even the bottom 10 matchup, it delivers in great games and great stories. And it's just, these kids, all these kids are fighting like hell, to win every single week. And to be in the best possible situation to play in their best postseason game, and then obviously try to make the next step to the NFL.
And a shout out to Tulane, the Green Wave down there in New Orleans. They're number 25 in the country this week at 6-1 on the season. They play Memphis on Saturday afternoon, a 3:30 kick on ESPN2. So good job starting the season for them. All right, coming up next, we're going to go through 8 matchups that we're going to be selecting this week. Gino made up a game on me last week. I had Oklahoma, you had Kansas.
Yeah, you know what though? That's terrible by me because their quarterback was out. I didn't see that.
Well,
How did I
speaking of
see
that,
and you had NC State.
I had NC State.
And they hid the injury from you.
Yes.
Actually, I'd be more pissed if I was you because they hid the injury from you on the NC State one.
And Leary's out for the whole season now, by the way. He's totally gone.
Hey, he was out for the whole season on Sunday last week.
So you gained a game on me. Yeah, that's true. You gained a game on me there. I gained it back on Tennessee. You had Alabama. But I lost it because I had Mississippi State and you had Kentucky. So you got me there. And then you got me on that late game with the Utes outlasting SC on Saturday night. So you picked up a game on me. You are 4 back as we make these selections in the next segment of Touchdown Radio Tailgate on ESPNU Radio, Sirius XM, Channel 84. It's Touchdown Radio Tailgate on ESPNU Radio, Sirius XM, Channel 84. He is the national champion and the Heisman winner, Gino Torretta. I'm Taylor Zarzour. Gino, here we go with Week 8 picks in the college football season. Number 5, Clemson, is playing number 14, Syracuse. The Qs still have never hosted College Game Day, and if they ever want to get to the Carrier Dome, they're going to have to pull off the shocker of all shockers with their undefeated team and Dino Babers going down to Clemson to play the Tigers on Saturday. This is an early kick, noon on ABC. Clemson's a 13.5-point favorite. I'm a little surprised by that line. I thought it might be a little bigger than that. So I might take, not only am I picking Clemson here, I might pick them to cover 13.5.
Oh, wow. You? Okay. Yeah, I'm taking Clemson. I think that, the sign of great teams, they continue to get better week in and week out. And I think offensively, they've gotten better. I think DJ Uiagalelei has gotten better. I think a lot of that, maybe Brandon Street, the offensive coordinators, get more comfortable calling the plays in his first season as the offensive coordinator. But I like Clemson at home.
Okay, next up, we go to Dallas, Texas, University Park, next to Highland Park, where the SMU Mustangs host number 19 Cincinnati on Saturday. The Bearcats are only 3-point favorites in this game. Tanner Mordecai and the SMU Mustangs, Gino, are 3-3. They've been up and down. They blew that game against Houston recently where they had the big lead. They're pulling off the upset here. I'm going Rhett Lashley and SMU.
Wow.
The Bearcats.
You know what? I don't know if I foreshadowed it. I think Cincinnati's going to run I think they're going to go on the road and beat SMU. And do you know all those neighborhoods around SMU? Because that's where those hoity-toity golf courses are that you travel around. And
I thought
cover.
I did, but somebody listened to this show a couple weeks ago and they questioned my judgment on those neighborhoods. So University Park, Highland Park. Yeah, I know a few of them. I thought I did. Yeah,
Fort Worth. We know the Fort Worth Club. That's what we know.
Yeah, we do know that, and that's they make it very clear that's not in Dallas. There's a little rivalry between those two towns, and so I'll stay away from that kind of conversation moving forward. Let's go to Stillwater, Oklahoma. You and I have done this game before. Number 11, Oklahoma State, is playing number 21, Texas. Oklahoma State, boy, what a crushing loss that was last week, where they had that game in favor of them of the Cowpokes, and TCU comes racing back and wins the game in an extra frame. Oklahoma State is a 6.5-point home underdog in this game, Gino.
And I think Texas takes care of business. This is one of those things why we're on Texas and then they don't play great, but Texas has the weapons. I think Ewers, when he's healthy, has all the ability in the world. They have some guys on the outside, Robinson in the backfield. I think Texas goes on the road and takes care of Oklahoma State twice.
With Ewers at quarterback, Gino, I think this is the best game of the year in the Big 12. I think these are the two best teams in the Big 12. I know TCU won the game last week against Oklahoma State in Fort Worth. Give them credit for that. I still think Oklahoma State's got a better team than TCU. I think Texas is going to Stillwater. I agree with you. Is going to win the game. And I think that gives them the upper hand in the Big 12 moving forward. Don't be surprised if they get to the Big 12 championship game at the end of the season. I know they have those 2 losses, one without Ewers, lost that Alabama game in heartbreaking fashion. That'll be fun. All right, let's go to the Pac-12. This is the game of the year, at least to date, in the Pac-12. Game days out there. Number 10, UCLA, is at number 9, Oregon Bruins. With this great start to the season, though they haven't really been tested, they're a 6-point dog playing in Eugene, and this is where the fun stops for Chip Kelly and the Bruins. I got the Ducks.
I'm all in on the gutty little Bruins.
Wow.
I'm just looking at the Oregon schedule. They beat Arizona, Stanford, Wazoo, BYU, Eastern Washington. UCLA has been tested. They beat Utah and Washington. And, I think those are 2 tests, and I think they go into Autzen. And even though it is the toughest place in the Pac-12 to play as a home field advantage, I think UCLA's got them.
Number 7, Ole Miss, is a 1.5-point dog playing at LSU this weekend. 3:30 kick on CBS. At least this is a little bit later start for Brian Kelly.
Which rivalry in the SEC? Seriously, because like Ole Miss, LSU, they can't stand each other. Bama, Tennessee, they can't stand each other. Auburn, Alabama, like you'd have to. This is right up there with 2 fan bases. Absolutely, they can't stand each other.
I think that the animosity between fan bases is significant here. Now, last week, LSU and Florida hate each other too.
Yes,
so
yes.
I mean, yeah, there's, and then they all start chanting SEC together as they hate each other. Who you like in this one? I'm making you go first on this.
I'm taking LSU on the road. I can't
in
take
Baton Rouge.
Excuse me, I'm taking Ole Miss on the road. I can't. There's inconsistencies on offense at LSU, and I think that Ole Miss is going to be able to go on the road and win.
One of the things that I've really enjoyed more than anything this season was Brian Kelly leaving the field Saturday night in the Swamp with his arm around Kayshon Boutte, which I guess he's changed the pronunciation of his last name from Boutte to Boutte or whatever this year, but that guy was such a malcontent at the beginning of the season. And I know that people love to talk junk about Brian Kelly, and he brings like this Russell Wilson type reaction where people, like to make fun of him or whatever. I got to tell you, he's done a really good job connecting to this team. They're playing hard for him. And the fact that he was able to get Kayshon to buy in, no matter what his last name is, was impressive. I'm going LSU. I don't like Ole Miss's defense.
Well, I would say this. All Brian Kelly needs to do is read Keyshawn Johnson's book and throw Kayshon the damn ball.
Next, we have number 6 Alabama versus number 24 Mississippi State. The Crimson Tide is a 21-point favorite in this game. Clearly, wow. Vegas knows Alabama's a totally different team in T-Town. I think the Tide rolls in this game. I think this is going to be it has been a challenging week to be a member of the Crimson Tide, especially on defense this week. And I think they take out their frustrations on the Pirate.
And barring an injury to Bryce Young, I would agree with you there. I think you don't want to wake up a sleeping giant. And I think that's just what Tennessee did. They just refocused Alabama on the rest of the season.
I'm going to throw a bit of a curveball at you here next.
Uh-oh.
I think they should be in the top 25. I don't know why they aren't. UCF is 5-1. They're playing at East Carolina in Rowdy Dowdy Ficklin Stadium in Greenville, North Carolina. Arg. UCF is a 5-point favorite in this game Saturday night on ESPNU. As much as I love the Pirates, I'm going Gus Bus here. UCF wins on the road.
You know what? I'm going home field advantage. I'm going East Carolina. The memories of them almost taking out NC State. I'm going East Carolina, the Pirates.
Big win over Miami back in the day, too. East Carolina Pirates. Big 12 is where we finish up. TCU ranked 8th in the country against K-State, who's ranked 17th. I think these, again, I told you Oklahoma State and Texas are the best two. In my opinion, I think these are the next best. And TCU's a 3.5-point favorite at home. I'm taking them to beat K-State.
Horned Frogs. What is that? 3 fingers? I don't know what they're.
They got they got a little,
it's kind of an odd, something like that. So yeah, we're both on TCU. I'm a fan after watching a boat race Oklahoma. I like TCU.
Froggies stay undefeated. All right, so we got a couple differences. I got LSU, you got Ole Miss. I have Oregon, you have UCLA. I got the Smooth Stangs, and you have the UC Bearcats. So we'll see how we did going into week 9 of the season. Hey, make sure that you listen to Touchdown Radio this Saturday. Number 2, Ohio State has Iowa. That is a noon kick. And you can listen to the Touchdown Radio call here on Sirius XM.
Tune in early because Ohio State has scored 8 consecutive first drives, and that might put the game out of reach for Iowa's offense.
That's true, yeah. Hunter's the best player for the Hawkeyes. For Gino Torretta, I'm Taylor Zarzour. We appreciate you listening to Touchdown Radio Tailgate on ESPNU Radio, Sirius XM, Channel 84.